Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. We are ready to continue talking about our digestive tract. And if you recall, we left off with our food entering our mouth, beginning both mechanical and chemical digestion, mixing that in with our saliva. We then call it the bolus, and we do make a conscious decision about our swallowing, moving that bolus into the pharynx and then into the esophagus, which is this muscular tube that's then going to take material from our mouth into our stomach. And really, I consider the primary job of the esophagus propulsion, which we talked about that as an important part of our digestive activities. And we're going to see this is happening using the movement of peristalsis, which is our sort of wave-like movement, pushing that material from one end to the other of the tube. And remember, I said you can think maybe about a toothpaste tube. I'm sure many of you have used that before as your example of doing a peristaltic sort of activity. Now, we will see that the process of swallowing is referred to as deglutination. And it does occur in 3 distinct phases. So we have the first phase, which we can call voluntary, or we can call it the buccal, as in your cheek phase. And this is, of course, when you're making that conscious decision to actually do your swallow. So you feel like, okay, I'm done having this bolus in my mouth. When we do this swallow, we will see that the epiglottis is going to cover the glottis, which is, of course, the opening to the trachea. And then we will see also the soft palate will cover the nasal cavity. So I have my diagram over here. It's actually that sagittal cut of the head. This is actually a model in our lab. And we're able to see, if I zoom in, we're able to see here the glottis, which is the opening to the trachea, which we studied as part of respiratory system. And this tissue here is the epiglottis. So when we do our swallowing, that would actually close over top, preventing food and water from actually going down into the respiratory tract. And then we see our soft palate at the back of the roof of the mouth, and we'd see that that would close in order to prevent food and water from going into the nasal cavity. From the voluntary or buccal phase, we'll move next into what's described as the pharyngeal phase. This would, of course, be that movement of the bolus into the oropharynx and then the laryngopharynx. And this is controlled then by the deglutination center of the medulla oblongata. So now we're getting into the unconscious control of the process. And then the final phase is actually, the esophageal phase. And the esophageal phase is going to be when we actually initiate peristalsis. So we get the wave of smooth muscle contraction, propelling that food down towards the stomach. And this is effective enough that if you're doing a handstand, you can still have, if you're upside down, you can still have this contraction moving food against gravity into your stomach. There are times when your material is a little bit dry and sort of gets stuck in the esophagus. And so you may have to have a secondary peristaltic wave. And that will be unconsciously regulated as well. And then what we see is that the bolus will actually push open what we can call the esophageal sphincter, entering into the stomach. And this esophageal sphincter should also prevent acid reflux. So it'd be at the very base of the esophagus where the esophagus is emptying into the stomach. So the job of the esophagus is really propulsion, and there's really, in my mind, no actual digestion happening here. Although remember, you have swallowed with the food, the saliva, and the saliva does contain salivary amylase. So those chemical reactions breaking down starch would still happen. And the saliva also contains lingual lipase. And so those reactions breaking down the lipids would still be taking place here as well. But I consider, no new kind of digestion is occurring in this particular part of the digestive tract. Okay, up next is the stomach, so stay tuned. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other.